Mr. Gajendra, now we are going through all this agony, hartals and protests and the Supreme Court intervening and laws having to be presented all over again and all that kind of thing. Now what really is the incidence of tax, I mean VAT, when it comes to VAT, avoidance, corruption, and that, if there was that VAT fraud that people are talking about in the past. Now when you think back at what we read in the newspapers at that time, you begin to wonder whether imposing this VAT will have any effect at all, because if there are going to be fraud and corruption and this is just going to disappear into various people's pockets, how do you solve that problem?
The reason why not in other taxes but in VAT, the fraud that took place in a significant phenomenal more extent, because VAT, the system when it was introduced, GST and VAT, we embraced the principle of VAT in its fullest perspective as it being implemented in some of these developed countries. And developed countries, if you import, you pay at the point of import, when you export, you get a refund, and that happens very efficient mechanism, technology and all. Now we blindly followed that system. So, I mean, some of us are saying, look here, why should I pay something and get a refund?
Yeah.
If you are an exporter, what you pay at the point of import is refunded. So they wouldn't at that time who were framing the laws didn't recognize that, and they didn't shelve this aside. So what happened was excessive amounts of refunds were being created, and this country couldn't handle that volume of refunds. Later on the deferment came, now the SVAT has come, that is also under attack. So initially there was refunds came, and also we told they were not paying the refund.
Now we don't have that system.
We don't have, we have been, it has been scaled down to now under that, now currently the refund is arising at another level, that's a different thing, but not to this extent, So that, because there was an opportunity, monies were there, and people are difficult to get the money because revenue was not used to giving refunds. They used to fear. So the money so some people thought they created, and we said, look here, when you are going to give a refund, do a field audit. See the company, who are the people there, whether there is real or fake and all. They didn't do that. Then some rights by ingenuity, of human being, they formed fake companies, fake imports, and got refunds, So that is the reason later on it came. So that is because sometimes we are going to learn from other countries. Now again, we should domesticate some of these things. That was the cause, to my understanding, was refund, because there are no fraud of this thing in other taxes. The taxes we have had it from 1960 onwards. We didn't have fraud here because you created an excessive refund, the refund environment, and now if you have a refund, you can't get the money also, because people are fearing, So that is the cause of this thing, and I believe now because of that they have other schemes which is causing other problems, but the scale and amount of the refunds have been brought down.
Yeah, so definitely the level of fraud or the possibility of fraud will be much less now than it was earlier.
Opportunities will be less, strictly. Yeah. But corruption, malpractice is on. That is, it is there, but not so heavy like in some other countries, but it is here still. So that is what I am saying, the RAMIS system, if they bring in, because technology comes in. When technology is there, it's very difficult to, human intervention is not be that easy, but still they will, there are cyber crimes and all those things are there, one bank lost $800 million overnight. Right. So it should be more deterrent and more preventive, the RAMIS, if it is properly implemented. And there may be resistance in bringing in RAMIS, because the mischief makers will not like it, And even the informal sector, when I say informal sector, even the people who are not completely outside the net, but people who are in the net, who are substantially not paying. We say if he has 100, he is paying only on 10. Some fellow doesn't pay anything, So my informal sector is people who are outside the tax net, who are within and fully or partially out or fully outside the net. Even that has to die. This country used to prosper. We are in a lower middle income country, now a middle income. Correct. Any country to go into the next level, these systems has to fall in place. You can't have such an huge informal sector and go into the next phase. You know? So there will be inequities, there is no fairness in tax. So it's a process. All these agitations will be there. What is the threshold? 50 million, 100 million, 25 million, even a tax-free allowance up to 500,000 you don't pay tax, over 500,000 you pay income tax. So I mean, my point is you must also have an unequal form of tax. When the society is unequal, that's what we are hearing. No? You have to have an unequal form of tax, and it should be more in line with the principle of capacity to pay. And of course, though no objective is 60-40, in the meantime we'll have to do something. I don't think whether we will successfully achieve that ratio by 2020. Now we are in 2016. We are still 80-20, this thing, even I don't know it will change. So we have to go to that. And the principle of capacity to pay, and when you say unequal society, unequal form of tax, then it becomes complex. Yeah. You have to pay at this rate, you have to pay if it is an essential item, it should be free of tax. Less essential item, lower rate of tax. Now in European countries, they have a standard rate, higher rate and a lower rate and zero rate for exports. Yeah. So now if you have multiple rates, taxation is getting distorted, complexity comes, all that comes. So it's a chicken and egg situation. If you go for standard, one rate, then the poor man gets hit. Then you have to give exemptions. Yeah. So, you know, even we had an earlier rate. We had a luxury rate, standard rate, reduced rates. Right? We have tried all that. Then for that the administration has to be efficient and effective. Yeah, you know, otherwise, then you will say someone at 12 is trying to pay.
There's a big question mark over that.
Yeah, apart from the efficiency, competence has to substantially. I mean, the government sector, the biggest challenge I see is the government sector that has to rise. And they also have this thing whether the pay is equal. So it's going to be the bureaucracy has to support growth, investment, employment. And if you see on the employment side, there is no. Our next phase is going to be where are you going to find the employment? Those say 4.5% unemployed. Recently a hotelier said he advertised for room boys. He got one guy. He applied for waiters. He got 2 guys. He applied for computer engineers, he got 50 guys. He says, Rajendra, now these guys have to come and do this job, no one is going to prepare to do that job.
That's right.
And that is one of the reasons these 3-wheelers, we have, I think, excessive 3-wheelers, because and some of them, because they enjoy that freedom. When I want to work, and I will work. And easy lifestyle. If you tell them they earn more if you go into some of these construction industry. Construction doesn't have people.
That's right. Yeah.
Where are we? So next stage is, are we ready to import people? Now when we do all these mega infrastructures, they had to bring people from abroad. No, we didn't have people. You can't get that. So so we have to, mindset has to change people. Because earlier if you went to the village and stayed, even with 2,000 rupees you can live.
Yes. You
needed 20,000 rupees when you get employed. You need to buy clothes, you have to buy food. That's when you go, travel. At home means the pepper is falling, fruit is falling, next one, and you with the surround, your this thing. So that environment will change. When you go to the middle income, you will have a small, now even here people who are living by the railway tracks and all, now they are putting an apartment. So they will have electricity bill, they will have this thing, around the place they had an economy by themselves, it is not there. Right. So demographics will change. So in this transition, we will, unless we take it on and go to the next level, we will go down. It should not be the case.
I think I must make a small addition here. The trading community was pleased with 2 particular concessions that have been given in this new law, which is that VAT would be deemed to have been paid on existing stocks.
Yep.
At the point that VAT comes into operation. Now they are happy about that. And also when larger retailers make purchases from small scale manufacturers or suppliers who don't pay VAT, there will be a deemed input VAT for that also. So they are very happy with those two concessions. But still, they feel that certain issues remain, especially when it comes to their threshold. You know, what they say is, keep it at 100 million. Don't bring it down. You know, I mean, Mr. Aponso and also Mr. Vithanage, when it comes to this whole question of direct taxes, all right, now all this is because the direct taxation system has failed to produce the desired result. But also, is there something wrong with the way we go about it? Now, when people come to levy direct taxes, say in the Inland Revenue Department or somebody like that, right? It could be any. Now, I was given a description one day by a person running an establishment of how these raids take place. Some people from a certain revenue collection agency had turned up there and said they had come and told all the employees to stand in a row, empty all your pockets onto the counter.
Is it the customs or inland revenue?
No, I don't want to say anything. It's one of the I don't want to commit myself to anything. I'm just saying that one revenue collecting agency turned up, personnel from that agency turned up, put all your money onto the counter.
The employees?
Employees. And then one person sat at the cashier's, on the cashier's chair and said, we are going to fix your boss this time. He's not going to escape us this time. Right? I mean, so that was absolute terror tactics. It was terror tactics.
When was this? How long ago?
No, this was some years ago. This was some years ago. So the question is, now this is what is sort of usual in that, I mean, you carry out a raid like carrying out a raid on a illicit
on a terrorist.
Yeah, or on a illicit you know, hooch den or something like that. It's like a Kasipur raid, in other words. I mean, is there something wrong in our culture? I mean, is there no way in which direct taxes can be levied without coercion? Right? I mean, have we really adopted a way of educating people to make them conscious of this, of the need for taxes, you know, and where you are sort of persuaded to pay your fair share. Now, it may be that we are becoming a little too optimistic, but also people would like to pay their fair share, not have any trouble. I mean, that kind of thing. How would you respond to that?
Right. Okay.
You know, this manner of levying direct taxes.
I think, you know, this is the way you sort of expressed it. It's like more like a very operational kind of issue. But I think there is a much bigger issue here. As I see that, you know, when we started going towards a market economy in the 70s, we didn't understand the role the government should be playing. We simply put the government as a kind of a lethargic, inefficient, bad, and then demean the kind of the role they should be playing. This was the wrong way to have started things. This is not the way Singapore did. This is not the way Hong Kong did. This is not the way most of the East Asian countries did. They took the government as a partner. I was shocked that happened 3-4 years ago. I was talking to a secretary of an organization, secretary of a ministry. He simply said, private sector are all rogues. They borrow money and spend. Now,
there was a similar complaint even from the traders last time. They were saying that they were looked at upon as kalukadakarayas.
That's right. Now,
black marketeers.
Why it has happened? Why it has happened is because we have not sold this so-called market economic concept to the people who matter in the whole process. We should have made the government sector at that time a professional body, more towards that. But what we did was we compartmentalized this. We used the government as a place where you can put your boys and then siphon out cash through kind of tactics, and made the private sector look a kind of bad guy when it comes to certain things. So, there was no partner, there was no synergy here. So, this kind of scenario, even if it happened after, so when did we start our liberal market economic policy? 1970s. Now, we are how many years down the road? We are still not even got to the beginning. This is the issue. Then coming to the corporate taxes, nobody pays corporate taxes through simply thinking, look, this money is going to be used for some useful purpose. Nobody. They always say, I mean, this is my hard-earned cash. Why would I give it to someone? This is the question put to me by a student. While I was teaching economics of public policy, I was talking about taxes, this girl told me, look, sir, why do I have to pay taxes when other people don't pay? Then my response was this: if you are rich, if you are powerful, your public space is occupied by the powerful people much more than an average person. It happened to me just a few days ago. I was going with my son. There was green light for me to go. That was my right of way. People are crossing the road. So, my son said, why don't you go? I said, look here, I am taking an undue space just because of the fact I have my car. How many people could have been occupied, sort of put into that space? 25 people. So, by virtue of the fact that I am powerful enough, I have the resources, I take a large chunk of public space for my consumption. That is a rationale for me to pay taxes as well, right. So, that's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is that I think people don't pay taxes by virtue of the fact that, okay, you have to pay taxes. People pay because if you don't pay, you end up in jail. That's the simple truth about it.
Yeah, you can't separate coercion from the taxation system.
No, because it's a criminal liability and you end up in jail. So, people don't want to get into that situation. So, then there is a tax law. So, within that you try to work things out, try to pay the minimum taxes possible, and so that you are basically covered under the law and you go about with the way whatever you want. Now, but then where do you sort of get this solution? The solution is you should have worked about, as far as this government to run, you need cash. This is fundamental, and taxes are the main and perhaps the 99% of the revenue source. And these taxes could have been collected from various people. As you said, taxes must be paid by the people who are taking the public space by and large, and also who are earning extra cash. It's an opportunity they have, and it's who gives the opportunity? The country gives the opportunity. So, you are having an extra share of the cake, you should pay something back to keep the system going. But then there are other people, poor people, ordinary people, because they are also asked to pay the taxes, because the consumption is so big and you are going on consuming more and more for various things. And so, you are dragging people who are not supposed to be in that net to pay the taxes as well. So, if you take the whole conceptual part of it, taxes should be expected and we should have planned for it. We never planned for it. Because we didn't plan for it, but we…
When you said we, you meant the government has to plan for it.
Politicians, the policy makers, they never planned for this. They never anticipated this. Now, you end up a situation where you are going about with your expenditure, you are looking around, hey, we don't have cash. We can land cash from where we can collect it easily. That is what has happened. Simple. So, it is unplanned expansion, unplanned progression without realizing…
Unplanned expenditure, is it?
Unplanned expenditure, and we go on indulging in this. Now, this is the tragedy. Now, this is what I find I have a problem with the present government. After January, there was people were expecting public space. Investors were expecting the kind of transparent public space. So, the present government, which is basically a capitalistic pro-government, should have provided that space. And had they done that at the very beginning, you would have created more opportunities. And those opportunities would have created more revenue. Then we would not be in this kind of scenario.
Would you agree with that? Just very briefly to conclude the program.
Yeah, see, every human being has an altruistic element in him, however cruel he may be. Now, I have come across people who don't pay tax, but they do a lot of social good, far more than the tax they would have paid. They put up libraries, they are putting schools, they are educating people.
Yeah.
That guy won't pay tax. Why is he doing this? Because he sees the good that his money is put into use. So it is the responsibility of the government to say what the tax money is doing, and what good is being done. All these guys who are not paying tax, there may be small element. There are people, they do a lot of good things. So, if you see the Scandinavian countries, income tax rate is 60%. They don't grumble much because they have developed countries.
They see the results
They don't grumble at all.
Denmark, if you are on unemployment, you get 5,000 euro. So most welfare states. So we have to come to that. So this is the challenge we have.
Yeah, that's right. Well, to conclude our program, I suppose the conclusion that we can arrive at is that the government has to take steps to show that the money that is being levied is being put to good use. And I mean, we have discussed the whole gamut of issues related to VAT. I mean, the issues of compliance, whether we'll be able to actually realize the money that the government expects from this, then how it will impact on the consumer, on the trader, and various other aspects. Well, we had a very distinguished panel tonight. Mr. N.R. Gajendran, a well-known tax consultant, Mr. Indrajit Aponso of the Department of Economics, University of Colombo, and Mr. Ranjit Vitanage of the National Movement for Consumer Rights Protection. Thank you for being with us tonight. Well, that will be the end of the program tonight. Thank you and good night.